All right, guys, it is Tuesday at 4 o'clock, and I am joined for the first time by Josh Lloyd of Basketball Monster. Josh, it's a pleasure to have you, man. What's going on?
Hey, Zach, how's it going, mate?
It is going, man. I have been on Josh's show several times here recently, and this is his first time joining NBC, so we are very happy to have him. Um, let's go ahead and dive right into it, guys. Looks like we're still waiting on a couple of questions here in the chat. So, Josh, how are we feeling post trade deadline? Is there anything? I know we talked on Thursday with the trade deadline. We talked about players we thought might get a boost, players we thought might kind of sink in value a little bit. Anything sort of surprised you since Thursday that maybe you didn't see coming?
Um, I guess a couple of things like the switch in the wings in Portland, like Matisse Thybulle and Josh Hart, both guys were really reticent shooters on their old teams. Hart in Portland and Thybulle in Philadelphia. In first two games on their new team, so one game for Thybulle, two for Hart, they're just bombing away, just taking whatever shot they want. They went in. I don't really expect that to start, but why were they so hesitant to shoot on their old teams? Because that didn't really make a huge amount of sense. So I didn't expect to see a big offensive explosions from Josh Hart and Matisse Thybulle in their new uniforms.
Yeah, that was a bit surprising. Are you rushing out to grab Matisse Thybulle right now? I mean, is this something that's going to stick?
No, like he's not going to hit 4 threes a game, but it does appear that they want him to shoot a little bit more, which again is pretty strange to me when Josh Hart seemed to be scared to shoot or not willing to shoot, and now he's telling the world that now he has the freedom to shoot. So were they telling Josh Hart not to shoot, but now they're telling Matisse Thybulle to shoot? So I don't know what to make of that. What I do know is Thybulle is that if he plays 30 minutes, which I don't think he will, he's going to get steals and blocks. Zach. Like, that's going to happen. That's going to be useful for some teams, but he also could average 5 points a game. That's also a distinct possibility. And as I've maintained the whole way through after this trade, is there are a lot of players there. There is Thybulle. There is Shaedon Sharpe, who's getting more minutes now. Nasir Little will probably get some playing time. Cam Reddish will started the last 2 games. What happens when Justice Winslow returns? Like, how does it all fit in to give Thybulle 30 minutes? I think 30 might be pushing it. He probably only needs 25. I just think that yesterday with Jeremy Grant out and Winslow still out, and the fact that he got super hot early, I think he hit 3 threes in the first half, seems like it might outsize some of his production.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you there. And as you mentioned, Cam Reddish started the last couple of games, but he's averaged 18 minutes in those starts, so
Yeah.
not exactly what we wanted to see. All right, let's go ahead and dive into these questions here. Let's just jump right into it. So we have Tuesday and Wednesday. Tonight is a small slate, 5 games. Tomorrow is pretty packed. Before the All-Star break, Josh, any top streams for tonight or tomorrow that you're targeting?
I think we look at Phoenix, like Torrey Craig, Josh Okogie, with the absence still of Kevin Durant. TJ Warren is available, so that'll be interesting there. But obviously, Devin Booker's still on a minutes limit. And then I think the other one, Zach, we'll look at is in Boston. Like, everyone's out there. So Sam Hauser is going to get a lot of shots. Mm-hmm. He's going to get a lot of minutes. And whoever else is available there, Brogdon or White or even Grant Williams. But Sam Hauser is the one who really sort of stands out in that situation, I think.
Yeah, I agree with you there. And for the record, Boston is the only team that plays both tonight and tomorrow. So I think those Boston guys definitely get a boost if you're looking for streamers there.
Yep, absolutely. The other one I will look for maybe tonight is Terrence Davis with Malik. Malik Monk is out again. So Davis should get an outsized role. Hurt has been a bit iffy up and down. So Terrence Davis has got, it's a little bit deeper. I'd rather try a Hauser for those 2 games, but I think Terrence Davis is worth looking at.
Yeah, Davis can go off for 30 or score 2 points. So if you're looking for upside, he's got it.
Yep.
All right, let's see. Boss man Zach, is it time to drop Cam Thomas? I'll toss it over to Boss man Josh. Is it time to drop Cam Thomas?
Look, their offense wasn't particularly great last game, so I think there is a little bit more that he can give, but I've been really skeptical of Cam Thomas this whole time being able to maintain this. I don't think he's playing 30 minutes a night. I don't think he's getting 35 usage a night, and I don't think he's maintaining the level of shooting that he had in that 40-point stretch of games. Can you drop him? Yeah, I think so. Like, he was pretty bad yesterday. He had 7 points in 20 minutes. His style of basketball, I don't think is particularly conducive to winning. It's conducive to highlights. It's conducive to people getting excited about it. But overall, with the team looking, man, stop taking these shots. Can you pass it? Can you defend once in your life? And I think that's why the minutes have dropped way down. It would depend on who I would add. Now, again, I'm skeptical of him, but I also think he can be much better than he's been the last 2 games. Depends on who I would add. But yeah, I think he's absolutely a droppable option.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, love the 40-point games. I love Cam Thomas. I love watching him play just in general. Loved him coming out of college. But yeah, with this Brooklyn team, I mean, it's super deep. Everybody's getting minutes on this team. They're going like 11, 12, 13 deep every night. Yeah, he's just not going to see the playing time that you need right now. So yeah, he's a drop right now. All right, let's see. Quick one here. Would you replace Nance with slow mo in a 14-team 9-cat head to head? Punting points, threes, and free throws.
Donna, I would be looking at both of them. Why? Surely in a 14-team league, like these are guys who, if you ask me that question in a 12-team league, I'd probably say, I'd probably have both. Would I replace Nance with Kyle Anderson as a general rule? Probably yes.
Mm-hmm.
Nance's value to me increases significantly when Zion plays, and unfortunately, that's just not going to happen for a while. So Nance is very much borderline, but in a 14-team league, unless people also not to you here, Donna, but to anyone else, and just a general thing, people often say, I'm in a 14-team league, but then they have 10-man rosters, so their rosters are the same as a 12-team league. So that sort of skews the value of a question. So if I'm assuming you're in a 14-team league, I'm assuming you've got like 180 players rostered, and they're both very clear must-roster players in that sort of format. Would I prefer Anderson over Nance? Yeah, but I'd also be looking at your roster saying, can I find a way to keep both? Because I think I'd like to do that in a 14-team league.
Yeah, I have to agree with you there. There's got to be a way to roster both of those in a 14-team league. All right. Fuzzy Pickle asks, traded Lowry for KD. What do you think of that, Josh? Would you have done that?
I guess, again, context is really important, Zach and Mr. Pickle, because if you're sitting in 8th, you might not have Durant for 2 weeks or 3 weeks here, and trading away a consistent top 20 player, which is what Markkanen's been most of this season, might actually cost you a playoff spot. If you're sitting 3rd and you're going to make the playoffs, then yeah, I think it's a pretty good deal. Durant's probably going to be better than Lowry the rest of the season, but it's not by that much. So there is risk involved in Durant. Obviously, Markkanen's been injured quite a bit in his career as well. It's not as much of a buy low gap that I would have liked for a situation when we still don't know when Kevin Durant is coming back. We assume it's going to be just after the break, but we don't know. And it's not like you're trading Julius Randle or you're trading CJ McCollum for Kevin Durant, where it's like, well, this is a clear W and I've got massive value here, because this could still buy you.
Yeah, I agree with you, man. And I think when it comes to these trade questions, as you mentioned, KD will be better, but you got to pay attention to that gap. I mean, how big is that gap, and how important is that gap going to be to you versus, getting these extra games and getting the security of having a guy like Lowry that is, well, you don't know for sure, but a guy that's not injured right now.
Yeah, exactly. Like there's a lot of context with every question. Again, depends where you are in the standings, because it could be a huge win, could be a huge loss, and we just don't. And I don't think there's enough gap to make that an overwhelming win in every situation.
Agree. All right. Another favorite from the trade deadline from the Orange Couch. Will Wiseman start next to Duren, and how will it affect their numbers? I don't know. I'm not sure what Detroit is going to do. I think that's probably a possibility. I think I'm not sure. Josh, what do you think here? Do you think Isaiah Stewart is more likely, just because of his spacing and his three-point abilities, to remain in the starting lineup at the 4?
Does he have 3-point abilities? He claims he does, but does he? Like he doesn't hit. He's not good, Isaiah Stewart. But neither is James Wiseman. Look? I feel pretty confident in saying I think the Pistons play tomorrow. There's no way that Wiseman starts tomorrow, unless Duren is out, because he's dealing with an ankle injury. I don't think first game they're going to say, all right, Wiseman and Jalen go out there. Look, but everything Detroit does, basically, I look at it and go, I would have done the exact opposite. So that makes it really hard for me to understand what they're doing the majority of the time. I would be really surprised if this is the lineup that they go to. Could there be an impact here on Duren's upside? Yeah, look, we saw it. Remember when they moved back Isaiah Stewart to the bench and they started Sadiq Bey, that instead of Duren playing 31, 32 minutes, he'd played 27 because they were forced to give Stewart 21, 22 backup minutes, and that limited Duren's cap on his minute ceiling. And I think that's probably more likely here, that instead of Duren being a 31, 32 minute a night center, that they go, no, we've got to get 21 minutes into Wiseman here, so Jalen's going to cap at 28. I think that's probably the more realistic scenario. They'll try them together. It'll be disgustingly bad, much like it would be if you played Marvin Bagley next to Jalen Duren, because they can't space or defend on the perimeter. And I think that's basically the exact same problem you're going to have with Wiseman.
You picking up Wiseman in 12-team leagues or leaving him on the wire?
I wouldn't add him in it. What's he ever done to show that he'd be worth that? Currently as a backup as well. In a 14-team league, I did add him just especially with Duran's injury after Duran got hurt. I thought, let's see what happens here. But I think that even if I didn't pick him up, how's it going to burn me? Like, what's his best case scenario? Is he going to roll in and play 30 minutes a night, averaging 15 and 12 with 2 blocks? I highly doubt that. Like, maybe he best case is the 100th best player, and I just don't care that much about that sort of scenario. Maybe he's better than this. When I try and look at it rationally, I don't really see how he gets there.
Fair enough. All right. Here we go. You'll love this one. Thoughts on THT rest of season, and then one of your favorites, Christian Wood.
THT, good assist yesterday. He's going to be up and down. The minutes are going to be a bit all over the place. He shot like 28% or something yesterday, but he had played 27 minutes a game for, I think, 3 straight games prior to that. Is he a better distributor than Collin Sexton? Absolutely he is, but he struggles with a lot of other areas of his game. I think he's okay. If you did add him in 12-team leagues, I'd hold and see what happens here. But in the end, he's probably going to sit more as a back-end 12-team league guy or 14-team league guy. As for Wood, he does some stuff which is really interesting. Like, what he scored, like 24 points in 23 minutes yesterday, yet still gave them all back going the other way. Like, to be that efficient offensively and still not even be a positive in plus-minus shows why Jason Kidd doesn't play in minutes. And, Zach, Maxi Kleber's coming back. And Maxi Kleber is 100 times a better defender than Christian Wood. So the path to minutes doesn't get easier. Or it just won't get easier. I think that we hold on to Wood, but if we're doing this again in 2 weeks, I think the discussion might be really different on Christian Wood.
Yeah, I agree with you on Wood there. I mean, for the better part of the beginning of the season, it seemed like he was just mostly points. He wasn't really wowing with rebounds. He wasn't wowing with defensive stats. I mean, there for a while, he was racking up like 2 blocks a night. I mean, that was never going to be sustainable. And then with THT, I think the minutes, I would hope they would start giving him more consistent minutes. But, I mean, even in limited minutes, he's still averaging like 7 assists per game over the last week, which is, I mean, that is useful in most formats. So, prefer THT, but, you can't drop Christian Wood.
No, not yet, but hey, that can easily change.
Yeah. All right, let's see. MMA legend Dillon Brooks, is he a hold?
In what sort of league? 16 team league? Like, right. under no circumstances, Zach, am I dealing with Dillon Brooks in a 10 or a 12 or a 14 team league? Like, he's bad, he's annoying. I don't want to have to deal with that stuff. But he's also just not a good fantasy contributor. So under no circumstance would I be holding him in any sort of standard format.
Agree with you there. In a points league, absolutely. I mean,
I don't even know about that, to be honest. I used to think that, in points league you can do that. Because if I have a look, I'm going to go have a look at his recent points league productions. I think we're going to both. Well, I'm not going to be surprised because I'm pretty sure he's bad in them. But let me just go and have a look at what his numbers are doing recently, like in a standard Yahoo points league. Over the last 2 weeks, he is averaging 16 fantasy points per game. So, that's pretty bad. He's also, for the season, the 140th ranked player in a Yahoo points league, averaging 24 fantasy points. And I'm telling you, there's better players on the waiver wire than Dillon Brooks. And you also don't have to deal with having Dillon Brooks on your team. So that's a double bonus.
All right. Getting spicy here. So.
Always.
Dropped Mark Williams to add Big Kelly O, punting blocks in a 10-team 9-cat. Did I blow it? I always love these retrospective questions. What do we think here?
I love the retrospective ones, so I just like to screw with people. Yeah, you blew it, you killed it, you're going to lose. What are you going to do about it now? I wouldn't have dropped Mark Williams for Kelly Olynyk, but you're punting blocks. So the value of Williams obviously decreases. But again, in this situation, these to me are both very clear top 100 players. Mm-hmm. And in a 10-team league, you roster more than 100 players. So unless your team is super strong, which if it is that strong, then I don't think it matters because you're going to be good anyway. Or like there's got to be someone else because these, again, when we're looking at these guys, they are top. I think they're both top 100 players, Zach. I think Williams is ahead of Olynyk. I would have tried to trade Mark Williams if you don't need his blocks, but surely you would have had someone worse in that situation.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think I probably would have preferred to hold on to Mark Williams here. But I mean, again, you live and learn. You can't go back and change this now. I still think you're going to get good value from Kelly Olynyk as well. So, I mean, it's not like you drop Mark Williams for Dillon Brooks, right?
Exactly.
All right, let's see here. Pat Williams worth streaming with DeRozan out 2 games before and 2 games after the break? Yeah, absolutely, right?
Yeah, maybe. Like, I don't know. I have I have zero trust in whatever Pat Williams does because we said it before. Like before that game in France, DeRozan was out and Williams did like nothing. Like I feel like he's just got no ability to really ramp stuff up. He's just so passive. He's not like confident in increasing his role. I think the guy that's going to get the role is Alex Caruso, really. Like, in theory, Pat Williams, hey, DeRozan's out, he should get more shots. It just, in the past, not that DeRozan's missed much time, but when he has missed, it hasn't really benefited Pat. I've got no problem. Try it, no problem, because he's going to hover around that 130, 150 range, even if things don't improve, which is all right. Like, you can have some bad games and good games, but from what I've seen so far from Pat Williams, I would suggest that a big uptick is probably an unlikely outcome.
All right. Moving on to Mac Attack. Who would be the pickup for this week and next? I need threes and steals. I'm looking at Trey Murphy, Pope, and 3-point game snub, Izzy Joe.
This week and next, threes and steals. Well, I wouldn't put, like, Isaiah Joe's going to hit threes. Yeah, Zach, we know that, but do I feel as confident in him as those? To me, look, it's pretty clearly Caldwell Pope. Like, he's going to get 33 minutes a night every night. He's way more consistent than, say, a Trey Murphy. If you said you needed points, I'd probably say Murphy over Caldwell Pope. But threes and steals, like, to me, that's like Joe's not even in that discussion to me because he's just not going to play as much. He's going to be inconsistent with. He might play 20 minutes, might play 15 minutes. He'll get 3 threes a night, but that's probably all he does. So to me, it's probably KCP over Trey. And Joe, sort of languishing behind.
Yeah, I think it's pretty clearly going to be KCP on that one, especially with the steals.
Yep, exactly.
All right, let's see here. Let's get us a good one. All right. 12-team head-to-head. Westy and Barrett were dropped. Would you drop Lunch Lady, KJ Martin, or THJ for either of them? What are we thinking here, man? THJ, definitely a drop, right?
Yeah, he's a drop, but how excited are you to add Westbrook, the man who's playing 0 minutes, or RJ Barrett, the man who's like actually just bad? Like, I got no problem dropping Tim Hardaway. I reckon there's better options out there than those two. Now, to have Westbrook or Barrett, Zach, you've got to be a really specific team. You've got to be willing to punt both field goals and free throws. You've got to be, in a Barrett's case, like only wanting points because everything else he does is below average. And with Westbrook, honestly, why would you add him? Like, he's not playing at the moment. Maybe he goes to a team like the Bulls and ruins them and puts up some okay numbers, but like, is it worth it? One part of this question, Hardaway, very easy to drop. Not a problem. Easy drop. Those are the two guys that I wouldn't be necessarily looking at as must-grab players, though.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think if we're just talking specifically for this question, sure, I'll drop THJ for Barrett. I think Barrett's the better fantasy option. But yeah, in general, barely. But in general, yeah, absolutely. I think there's probably going to be better options out there.
It's all going to be, like you said, 12-team, but is this a points league? Because then that's a really different story.
Sure.
And in a category, like if you're just desperate for points, then Barrett might get you 19 a game, and that's still really useful. Or if you need points, rebounds, assists, and banking on Westbrook playing somewhere, then that might be useful. But who knows? They could actually just be significantly big detriments to your team and not be worth it. And overall, like the rankings of both those guys, like Barrett's ranked 189th or something for the season. Yeah. Not good enough. But if you have a specific need, then sure.
Absolutely. All right. This guy is screaming at us in all caps. Dinwiddie or Dilo, rest of season standard league. Josh, pounding the table on this one. Who you taking?
I look most of the time, like I look at this and just say, like, who cares? Like, I think that's probably like, what's the benefit here of this trade? Like, is there a clear winner either way? Probably not. Is there a clear loser? Probably not. What's the difference with it? I don't know. Not very much to me. Like, they are around the same. I would say it's probably Dinwiddie, but because I just worry a little bit about Russell with Schroeder next to him, with LeBron coming back, maybe he just loses some usage, but it's definitely not something to scream in all caps about.
What's your opinion? I mean, just general rule of thumb here about trading, same position for same position, 1-for-1. I mean, is that something you typically do, or are you looking for both teams to win where I'll trade Dilo for Capella, right? And I'll get blocks and rebounds and he'll get, assists and threes. I mean, is that something you're more inclined to do?
Look, when someone asks me a trade question from looking at a trade, my number one response is why? Like, what are you doing? Like, why are we doing this trade? Are you doing it because you want to do a trade? Okay, that's a reason that a lot of people do trades because, hey, I just want to do a trade. I've got itchy trade finger. Yeah, and a lot of the time, like, what's your point here? Like, what are we trying to do? Both guys are going to score. They're going to have probably below average field goal percentages. They'll get good assists with low rebounds, and they'll hit some threes. Like, the profile on those guys is very much the same. I guess you could look at it and go, I expect Russell's numbers to go down and Dinwiddie's to go up, which is actually what I expect. But the number one question you always ask is why. And with guys that's similar, like in general, I'd rather not do the trade and hold on to it than rather make the trade and go, man, and then later on go, man, I shouldn't have made that trade. We're very rarely going to go, oh, I probably should have done that trade later on. I just would like to stick with the guy I've got when there's no real clear, distinct, huge advantage. But in general, you're right. Trading position for position always screams to me of like, I just want to make a trade.
Yeah. All right. So Josh says, love the one you're with. Moving on. Debating trading away AG to get PJ because Gordon has 2 games my first week and PJ has 4. Again, I feel like this is probably going to be league specific. I know you get those 2 extra games, but Aaron Gordon is going to be the better option rest of season, right? Is that how you feel?
I don't know that I feel that way because Gordon has been really good this season, Zach. But I reckon if you have a look over the last 2 to 3 weeks, maybe even the last month, he's dropped off quite a bit. And his free throws have been pretty bad, like 62, 63%, which is an impact. And PJ is generally pretty much like mid to high 70s in that free throw area. So again, that is quite important. Or the structure of your team is quite important in dealing with those 2 guys. If I look at this one, like, yeah, you have 2 games versus 4 games. All well and good. I don't actually think it matters that much, to be honest, when you're talking about these back end sort of options, like getting 2 extra games of PJ Washington. What if he has those games where he scores 6 points on 11 shots in those 2 games, and it actually hurts you more than it helps you because it just destroys your field goal percentage? I just think that people put, maybe I'm wrong on this, Zach, or we have different opinions, which is totally cool as well. I just think people put too much focus on playoff schedule and not team fit or what it means on your squad, because there are differences in these guys. Like, because PJ Washington he averages 4 rebounds a game for a start.
Yeah.
But he shoots a better free throw percentage. So the difference is in how they fit your team versus let's just get extra games in. I think that I'd rather look at what makes sense on my team more versus, hey, the playoff schedule is good versus bad.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you on that one as well. Yeah, just based on team fit and just based on overall. I mean, I know you're saying PJ might be better. I prefer Gordon rest of season, so that's where I would lean. But I agree with you. I think in the long run, it's going to be based on how that player fits with your team rather than just kind of cramming in some extra games. Because for every game that you put in there, you're leaving another guy on the bench, right? So you can always have that extra spot available as well. All right, moving on here. Thoughts on Charles Bassey? He just got signed to a 4-year deal.
He just did. The news just came through 10 minutes ago from Shams. I think that he is a very interesting backup player. He'll back up Zach Collins. I think that if I'm in anything that's like deeper than a 12-team league, a 14-team league, if he gets 18 minutes tonight, he will be a 14-team league guy. I'm pretty confident with that. And I think he's going to have some sneaky 12-team value at times. I think he's a very interesting player who can rebound the ball, block the ball, good field goal percentage player, a few steals here and there. Like, I think he's a really intriguing player. If you got 20 minutes a night, Zach, I reckon we might actually be talking about him as a 12-team stream option.
Do you think he's going to get there this season? I'm not confident that he does.
20, probably not. 18 as the backup to Zach Collins. And the Spurs aren't going to run Zach Collins 30 minutes every night. He'll play 27, 28. He played 23 the other game. Played 20. So Isaiah Roby just hurt his ankle. Their other options are Gorgie Jang. Like, who cares? Ken Birch, who cares? Like, they just signed Bassey. They converted his 2-way to a 4-year deal that's above the minimum. It's $10 million. It's not huge, but it's still $10 million. I think that he'll get first crack at that backup role with a minimum 15 minutes a night. And I think that's enough to at least have his name. And he's available in every single league. Like, just, you got to have his name on your mind. If you're in anything that's deeper than 12s, I would grab him in any single league deeper than 12 teams at this point.
Yeah, I agree with you. 14-team or deeper, and obviously a hold in dynasty formats.
Yep.
All right. Are Bay, Malik Beasley, and Vandy hold or drop in a 14-team 9-cat roto? I mean, Beasley and Vanderbilt to me are clear holds. I think Bay is in a 14-team league. I still am probably dropping Bay. The other 2 I'm holding.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. But, in a roto league, look, Bay's probably sitting on your bench, and that would depend on who's available on your wire. Is it someone that's going to jump into your active lineup spots? Probably not. Like Bay is maybe going to be 160th, 170th rest of season, which is still okay for a 14-team league. And Beasley and Vanderbilt will be slightly ahead of that. But these are all really not significant moves on the margin that don't actually make that much of an impact in this situation. Like if Bay is your worst player and you want to be like, hey, who can I drop in case someone starts to pop off, like old mate Charles Bassey, then drop him. No problem with that. Like, what are you losing out on? Your worst player who probably has really limited upside to burst into a big option. Like, if you want to do that, by all means. But I do agree with you on Vanderbilt and Beasley, but I think their upside is still pretty limited as well.
You think so? I think Vanderbilt, I mean, he's played 17 and 22 minutes, but I mean, he's looked really good when he's been out there. I mean, I think if he gets a few more minutes here and there, I mean, he can be really good for fantasy.
There's also a bloke by the name of LeBron James that hasn't played in the last 2 games as well. So, yeah, they've got to try and fit LeBron in, Anthony Davis in. They've got to Mo Bamba hasn't played. I don't know what their plans are with him. They want to play Rui Hachimura minutes. Troy Brown's getting minutes. I just don't think there's any path to 25 minutes a night for Vanderbilt on that team, especially with the fact that Anthony Davis doesn't know how to shoot anymore. So Vanderbilt and Davis lineups together might struggle a little bit, and that'll somewhat limit his overall upside. So I think he's totally okay in a 14-team league. I just think the upside, I don't think there's any way, Zach, that he's pushing 28 minutes a night, and that would be the real upside for Vando, but I don't think he's getting there.
Yeah, Davis's shooting has gone to the toilet since Westbrook went away. Not sure if there is a correlation there or not. All right. Is Kyle Lowry still a hold in a 12-team 9-cat? I'm dropping him.
See you later. I would have dropped him last week, I reckon.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
All right. That was an easy one.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see here. All right. Fuzzy Pickle is back. I have Jamal Murray, Westbrook, and Oubre on my IL+. Who should I drop to activate Woods, Sohan, Gafford, or Mark Williams? I have Embiid, Booker, Kawhi, Kyrie, and Claxton in a 12-team 9-cat. Let's see. I have Jamal Murray. So Westbrook is the clear drop to me. And then who are you activating out of Woods, Sohan, Gafford, or Marky Dubs?
I don't think I understand the question necessarily here. Okay, so you've got Murray, Westbrook, and Oubre on my IL. Who should I drop to activate? Like, I think the question is asking which of these players, Woods, Sohan, Gafford, and Williams, do I drop to activate these other 3 guys? Why are you activating them? Westbrook's not playing. Oubre's injured. Jamal Murray's injured. Why are you activating them? People ask me this question all the time, Zach, and I know it sounds like I'm being an idiot in responding, but why? Why do you need to make this decision in advance? Because we all know, and I'm sure people, maybe not you, Fuzzy Pickle, but maybe people that you know, will complain, man, NBA injuries all the time. Everyone's injured on my team. So by the time you come to the situation where Jamal Murray is playing, or Oubre is playing, or Westbrook finds a team to play on, someone else might get hurt. And then you switch that hurt player into the IL and you activate that guy. If you want to ask who's the worst player out of that group, it's probably Sohan. Gafford and Williams are nowhere near the level of Sohan. They are significantly above where Sohan is. He's probably the worst guy out of that group, but you also don't have to make any decision whatsoever at this point. Like, these guys are not playing, so you do not have to activate them.
All right. All right, here's another trade deadline darling. Josh Green or Trey Murphy in a 12-team category league. I'm interested to hear where you go with this one because Trey Murphy has been solid all season. He's had fairly steady minutes, even when guys are healthy for New Orleans. But Josh Green, last 2 games with Kyrie and Luka both healthy, averaged 39 minutes a night.
Yeah, don't look at what he did in the last game though. He scored 6 points.
It was poor. It was very poor. It was.
I think the other thing we've got to look at there with that team is Kleber is going to return. Justin Holiday is probably going to get rotation minutes. Tim Hardaway needs to play. I think Green is a really strong player, but he's also been shooting these unsustainably high numbers, and that usage in the first couple of games when Kyrie was there was also not something that was going to stick. And what we saw last game, maybe not the 20% shooting, whatever it was, but the complete sort of uninvolvement offensively with usage is more realistic to expect versus what he has done for big chunks of the season. He's been his shooting numbers have been unbelievable. Like, he's at 41% from 3 for the season, but that has started to taper off somewhat. And I just don't think we'll look at Josh Green and go, yeah, he's this sniper from deep. Trey Murphy is the opposite. But again, Zach, this comes down to a lot of things. What are you looking at Josh Green for? Like, steals? Yes. Okay, that's really what we're looking at him for. Like he chips in a couple of other areas, but steals. What are we looking with Trey Murphy for? Threes and points. What do you need on your team? I don't know. And that's the difference between these two guys. Trey is they're both going to play 30 plus minutes. Green probably playing more. Trey's going to have higher usage with points and threes. Green's going to get more steals, probably chip in more assists as well. So to me, it's just really, what are you looking for here? Yes, the popular name at the moment is Josh Green, but if we looked at just his last game, you'd go, well, this is not very good at all, is it? Because he's just not involved offensively and the shot didn't fall whatsoever. So I'm a little skeptical of Green's rest of season value. Not saying he's going to be bad or anything like that, because I do like him as a player, but I'm a little skeptical that those first couple of games from Josh might have outsized expectations somewhat.
All right, so context does matter with this one. Move on here. Who would you rather have rest of season, Collin Sexton or Killian Hayes? Where are you going with this one?
It's probably Sexton. But again, one of these guys could get you 7 or 8 assists a game. One of these guys could average 19 points per game. And I think we know which one's which. If you don't, Sexton's getting points and Hayes is getting assists. But one of them could also shoot 12% from the field, and that's Killian Hayes, whereas Sexton's a better shooter there. Hayes could also average 2 steals, and Sexton might get 2 steals in a month. Like, they are very big, different players there. Like, to me, though, Zach, I think both of them are probably top 100, top 110 guys rest of season. The fact that they're both sitting on your waiver wire suggests that you're in a shallower format, because I don't know why they'd still be sitting out there. I would lean Sexton, but I don't think it's 100% clear cut.
Yeah, I think with both of these guys, I think Sexton was expected to take on immediately, a much larger role in Utah's rotation, but it just really hasn't panned out. I'm not sure that he gets to 30 minutes a night. And obviously Hayes kind of had that stretch where Alec Burks was in the starting lineup over him, which was no idea what the hell they were doing there. So I think, I mean, seriously, I think there's concern for consistent minutes for both. But just based on the body of work and based on the fact that Detroit is tanking hard, and Hayes is essentially, he's getting all this extra run, this extra shine for the end of the season, I go Hayes. I think assists and steals are going to be very consistent for him. And I'm not necessarily, again, it's team based, but I'm not necessarily sure that Sexton's points really intrigue me that much. Points you can find on the waiver wire all the time.
Can you, though? Can you find a guy that scores 19 points? I don't think you can get anywhere close to it.
Not 19, but I think you can make up those points in other areas. And I think most teams, I don't think a lot of teams are probably lacking severely for points as much as they are for assists and
that
steals.
is true. That is true. Like, finding assists is really hard off the waiver wire. That's not easy to do. That finding steals is relatively easy. You can find quite a few of those, but finding assists is not easy. But finding points, if you are trying to battle and be competitive in points and you need to get them off the waiver wire, you're just probably not going to win, because that means you have to focus so much on just getting these point scorers off the wire, and that's got to be your entire focus there, because you can't find 20 point per game scorers. You'll find a bunch of 12 point guys, but you just need to cycle that through just to get those points up to the level of other players, and then you sacrifice other categories there. So that's part of that. So while you can, like, theoretically, everyone on the waiver wire will score some points, but in order to make them competitive, and an average points output for a player in a 12-team league is like 17 and a half, I think. So you can't even get to average. So for every game that you play for a guy off the waiver wire, you're dropping your team's scoring average down. So you need to stream such high volume in to get it back to that number that you end up sacrificing a lot of the other categories. And is that trade-off worth it? Usually not.
All right, dropping some knowledge. Moving on here. Gabe Vincent, Torrey Craig, or Royce O'Neal? I'm going with Vincent in this situation. I think we both agree that Kyle Lowry's a drop, and Vincent has been pretty solid with him on the sidelines.
Yeah, Royce O'Neal's not even remotely close to these guys, to be honest. I would take Vincent. I would consider Craig, but like he's started for massive chunks of this season already, and he had a couple of decent moments, but overall, nothing got me excited. I would clearly add Vincent. Does it mean it's clearly going to be the right call? No, but that's the direction I would clearly go. I wouldn't even hesitate on that.
All right. We have time for a few more questions here. All right. Alex asks, I think Rozier might get shut down at some point. I'm wondering if I should shop him now before it's too late. Are you shopping Terry Rozier?
No. No, I'm not, because what for? He's been bad all season. He's starting to play well now. The shutdown fear porn that some people have is crazy to me. Why is he getting shut down? Like, what do we think is happening here? If does he get hurt? I don't know. Maybe he could get hurt, but people just seem to think that the NBA is just sitting healthy players every single week post All-Star break, that just guys are going to stop playing. It's once you hit the 1st of April, sure, you'll get a few random rests and people resting injuries that have been bothering them all season. But the thought process that we're just getting guys just not playing the final 2 months of the season is just based on like nothing really at all, I don't think.
All right. I had this question sent to me on Twitter and I responded to it, but I'll get your take on this one too, Josh. LaMelo and Vooch for Embiid. Too rich for my blood. I would not give up Ball and Vooch for Embiid. What say you on this one?
Again, you look, the overall value proposition, I think if you look at it and go, Embiid is a top 3 player this season, I think, and Melo might be 16th and Vooch might be 30th or whatever, something like that. So the overall proposition says Embiid, yes, like we're getting a top 3 player. But, Zach, as has been the theme of this show, where are you getting LaMelo's 9 assists back from? They're not coming from Embiid, and you can't find him off the waiver wire. So you've either got to be willing to lose that category, or you're so strong in that category that it doesn't matter. So, well, yes, Embiid, that's the value proposition. Then you open up a streaming site, you cannot make up those assist numbers. You just can't do it. So I don't think that I'd be willing to do that. But it's all context dependent, and it's all about like, how do I replace this? Because this is Melo for Embiid. Let's even take Vooch out of it. Melo for Embiid. For a lot of people, it's a very clear Embiid. For others, it makes no sense on their team, because what Embiid does doesn't bring them an advantage, doesn't change their odds of winning something, whereas LaMelo might. And adding Vooch into that mix, he helps with that rebounding stuff, but you cannot. How do you make up those assists? You can't do it.
All right. So once again, context does matter.
All with everything. Yep.
Yeah. All right. Let's get to this final question here. And I think we can kind of riff on this for just a second here. Do we foresee Dinwiddie consistently being the number 1 usage guy in Brooklyn, or rotating nightly? Obviously, they're going to rotate nightly, I think. But I think the bigger question in Brooklyn is, I mean, what do you see as far as usage moving forward? Or is this just going to be a situation of this team is so deep without superstars that it's just going to be, dart throw every single night?
No, I actually do think it's going to be Dinwiddie every night. Who else do you think is going to be the number 1 usage guy on this team if it's not Dinwiddie?
I think Bridges has a shot.
And can he actually take it higher? Like maybe he can get 24 usage. Like I think last season, if we look at it, Zach, I think he was 15 usage, which is abnormally low. This season, without Booker and Paul, he got it up to 22. I think he can get 23, 24. But I think Dinwiddie's going to be rolling 28, 29 usage most nights. I don't really, like, he's done it in Brooklyn before. He did it basically in Dallas a lot this season. Obviously not the number 1 guy, but still, playing with a lot of guys who are extraordinarily low usage in Finney-Smith and Reggie Bullock a lot of the time, and Dwight Powell. There will be nights, sure, that Bridges is that guy, but I think if we looked at the totality, you look at like 70, 75% of the time, Dinwiddie will be that number. Now, Cam Thomas is going to lead the team in usage, because he's going to come out, he's going to play 20 minutes, he's going to jack up 15 shots, right? So he's going to have this like 31 usage or 30 usage, which is probably higher than Dinwiddie. But if we're talking about the guys who actually play the bigger starter minutes, I think the majority of the time, Dinwiddie is going to be that guy out of that starting group, that he's going to be the highest usage player, I think 3 out of every 4 nights, at least.
All right, so Dinwiddie, Josh thinks, is going to be the number 1 option moving forward. All right, guys, I think that is everything for today. Guys, if you're watching this stream, I'm sure you're familiar with Josh's work, but Josh, please give us a plug. Let us know what you're working on right now.
Just working on the NBA. I'm just working on breaking down everything that's happening every day. My channel, Locked On Fantasy Basketball, you can find it YouTube and podcasts, and all my work over at Basketball Monster as well.
All right. Thanks so much for stopping by, man. And everybody that tuned in, thank you so much for joining. We will see you here Tuesday at 4 o'clock next week.